Welcome. Attention to brief. My name is Matt Bowman, and I am your co-host for the Briefing Room. My co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn, and I each week bring you a show by Warriors for Warriors. We bring CEOs, entrepreneurs, and the world's top thinkers to show you how they are living their best life and to help you raise your own personal bar so that you can live your best life. Each week, our guest gives you 30 minutes of the best leadership consulting nuggets, the best advice, the best techniques, and the best procedures so that you can go out and duplicate their successes. We do this through the lens of a warrior. Over 30 years experience in senior leadership in military, in corporate, and organizations. I have been in the briefing room. I have been the briefer for 4-star generals, for 4-star admirals, and I bring that military perspective to the world's events. So today, we're going to talk about the world that we live in. We're going to talk about the importance of us as warriors, teachers, firemen, police officers, and entrepreneurs, warriors in all spaces to bring certainty in an uncertain world. We do this also within the framework of a conference called Becoming Everything You Are. February 12th through 14th at the Baltimore Convention Center, we're going to bring together thousands of thought leaders and science, technology, engineering, and math professionals. This is our 40th annual. Join 50,000 professionals as we talk about the world that we live in and how we can go from where we're at to where we need to be. We're going to go to a quick commercial that's going to show you what the 40th annual BEA is going to look like. And it's going to show you the things that Dr. Tyrone Taborn, the CCG staff, and I are going to share with you. So pay close attention to this commercial. And then when we come back, we're going to go around the world in 7 minutes. And then you're going to hear from the woman herself, one of the world's top consultants.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, BEA has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for BEA 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. BEA, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
So welcome back to the briefing room. I'm your host, Matt Bowman. We are now going to go around the world in 7 minutes. So let's start right here in the North American continent. This week, we've had changes in the geopolitical environment. We had an ICE shooting in Minneapolis, where a civilian, Miss Renee Good, was shot by a ICE law enforcement officer and has sparked protests around the country. She is being charged with being charged as an alleged domestic terrorist. And so we're keeping a close eye as we have this intersection, this changing environment between the intersection between immigration and customs enforcement, border patrol, and operations outside of the 200 nautical miles where the border patrol traditionally has operated, and as it goes from cities to cities in the United States. When you also look at what's going on in South America, President Maduro of Venezuela is incarcerated in New York City through an operation that was, by all accounts, absolutely brilliant from a military perspective. Lots of issues, lots of legal issues that are kind of beyond the scope of this show, but things that warriors and leaders need to be aware about. What are the implications? You know, we talk in the military about second and third order effects. There are second and third order effects that happen when an operation like what happened in Venezuela occur. Then as we move around the horn, we get to Europe. The world was shaken up with President Trump's announcement that we are going to acquire, we meaning the United States, are going to acquire Greenland either the easy way or the hard way. The statement, the hard way, has shaken up our allies across the world, and there are many questions as to what does that mean. History says that since 1951, we've already have mutual defense agreements with Greenland and also with Denmark as part of the Allied coalition. And so there's lots of strategic and military implications, really a changing of the world order, depending on what happens in Greenland. As we continue through Europe, once Greenland took over the news, the things that happened in Ukraine, things that happened in Kiev, the things that happened in Moscow have taken a back seat. But make no mistake, 30,000 young people are being killed in that conflict on a regular basis. And so there's a 20-point peace plan. They're still in Paris. They're still working on that. And the solving of that conflict will lower the tension in the world. And so it's very important that we also keep an eye on that. As we go into the African continent, the withdrawal of 30 ambassadors from Africa with direct communications, the administration's goal to have direct communications leader to leader is a change in how the State Department has operated in the past. Time will only tell if that is an effective approach, but there are leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso and other places that are building their own world order in Africa, and that has strategic implications for us in the United States. As we shift to Asia, the big question is, will our actions in Venezuela inspire China to take similar actions in Taiwan? This is kind of the elephant in the room, something that no one talks about publicly, but is a great concern in private conversations around the world. Have we set a precedent where we can go in and impose our will simply because the United States has the military power to do so? So from a military perspective, there we go. Around the world, you said, Matt, the 7 continents. You didn't talk about Antarctica, and you didn't talk that much about Australia. Australia is doing the maritime and Pacific partnerships. They're going to stay forever in the coalition with the United States and Great Britain as what they call Children of the Lion. And then for Antarctica, Antarctica and Greenland have the largest amounts of stored fresh water in the world. Over 60% of the world's reserves of fresh water are trapped in the ice sheets of Antarctica and Greenland. And so as we watch global warming and the implications of global warming to those ice sheets, that will have an impact on all of us in the long term, perhaps not in the near term. But anyway, that is around the world in 7 minutes. So if you don't get your news anywhere else, you can get your news here at the briefing room. Now we're going to go to a commercial. And after that commercial, I'm going to bring you my guest, Colonel Michelle Gardner-Ince.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
All right, welcome back to the Briefing Room. My name is Matt Bowman. The Briefing Room, a show by Warriors for Warriors. And I have a terrific treat for you today. Colonel Michelle Gardner-Ince. She is a lifelong military ID card holder. I think she probably had it from birth. And she has served in the Veterans Administration as an executive. She is my friend. Welcome to the show, GI.
Hold on. Thank you, Matt. What a pleasure it is to be here with you. Really looking forward to our conversation. And you're right. I think it's been, has it been 20 plus years since we met and have been doing some amazing things.
GI, you know how you know it's been 20 plus years? You just look at the hat, okay? I'm looking at your hat. You're looking fabulous and amazing as always. And you know, that's how you know when you're locked in, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. And so listen, I want to jump right into it because you are such a powerful thought leader. You're such a powerful mentor. And as you know, January is National Mentoring Month. And so when you talk about an impactful mentor, you're talking about who we all call her GI. We're talking about GI.
Wow.
So GI, can you tell us about the mentors in your life? I want to go all the way back to your grandparents and their impact on you. So take us to the story.
Well, first of all, you know, I was blessed to be born into a very high achieving family. I used to say overachieving, and then someone corrected me. You know, my father was one of the first Black Army Corps of Engineer officers. You know, he left me and my brother, you know, who was a SES at 35. It's just the two of us. He left us with a couple of nuggets. He said, leave deep footprints everywhere you go. They should know that you were there. And the second thing he would say is, create history, because guess what? They can come behind you, but for that period of time in history, you were the only one that took it from what it was to what it is now at a higher level. And my mother, two things. There's many things. And imagine, my mother and father's union, they met and married at Tuskegee. Okay. The military catapulted the economic level of our family in one generation. My mother's mother, my grandmother, only went to the 3rd grade. Her father to the 8th grade. My father's father only went to the 6th grade. And it was one of those, I call it blue collar, white collar marriages, because my grandmother was a teacher, 3rd grade teacher with her master's degree. So imagine that. But, you know, just the commitment to community service and excellence, as my mother would say, it's not what we do, but who we are. And she was the Army Wife of the Year for 1973 and runner-up for Military Wife of the Year in an era when, you know, that being a military spouse was really just beginning to be recognized. And she also was one of the first to do research and get her graduate degree at Arizona State, specifically focused on military families and transitioning. So that's my foundation, my pedigree, just highly blessed and favored.
Well, you know,
they were my first mentors.
Listen, there's a lot to unpack there, GI. And I want the guests, those who are building high performance teams, whether it's in their families or in their corporation. I'm going to touch on each of the 6. I'll call them your big 6. So let's talk first about your dad. Some people say leave footprints. Your dad said leave deep footprints.
Correct.
Talk to us. What is it about? How does a person leave a deep footprint?
So first of all, if you're going to leave a deep footprint, that means you're going in not just wanting, as I call it when I was in command, you're not holding the reins. But you got to get a little speed going there. You got to, and know whether to go to the right or to the left. But the biggest thing I think that has given me my success stemmed from something my father told me when I first came in the Air Force. He said, find a good senior NCO and hold on to their coattails. Okay. And so my first mentor in the Air Force was a Chief Master Sergeant. I call it an old brown shoe Chief Master Sergeant with the birth control glasses, you know, the brown shoe kind of guy. And he really took me under his wing. The lieutenant worked for the chief. I was the chief's lieutenant. He was not my chief, if you understood.
I understood.
And my father, because of my father's mentoring, I was humble enough to understand and receive the things he taught me: how to lead enlisted troops, how to be technically competent. He said, everything they tell you, make them show it to you in the regulation or the tech order. He said, you know, you must be able to gain their respect. And many times that means doing what they do, because even if it's for that small amount of time, you then understand their perspective, and you're better able to advocate on their behalf. So in every job I've been in, and you know, and I tell people I've been in entrepreneurship more than 40 years because my area in service was entrepreneurship. So I've been serving military members, veterans and their family through entrepreneurship. That's hotels, restaurants, department stores,
all of it,
grocery stores, you know, childcare centers, all gyms, all that. And so, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. So for every single one of those entities, I worked there.
So, you know, you said something, and I don't want people to miss it. You said, in order to get their respect, you got to be able to know what they do and do it. And do it, at least for a short period of time.
Yes.
I mean, but that requires you to, you know, take off the jacket and to actually get on what we call in the Navy the deck plate. That's like deck plate leadership.
That's exactly right. Because then what that does is that gives people, you know, they say first of all, it's less about you and more about them. Let me just say that. You're not doing that to look good. You're doing that to see through their perspective. I'll give you an example. I ran hotels on base, lodging, and I was saying, why is it taking you so long to clean rooms, right? Well, what I found out is they didn't have enough extension cords, and that they would have to unplug and go because we were trying to increase our rate of cleaning, number of rooms they could clean, and we created metrics, right? So I'm all about the way you create legacy is through, I'll say 3 things that I never forgot. What's your approach or your strategy?
Okay.
2, what's your deployment? And what's your results? ADR, approach, deployment, and results. And when you want to create legacy, you have to start with the end in mind. What kind of results do I want? And because of that, then you back up and you say, I want these results. So now what's my approach going to be? Strategy, and then how I'm going to execute in order to get there. So legacy for me.
But what if you're doing impossible goals, big, hairy, audacious goals? Does that ADR still work?
It works every time. When I tell you every time, you know, one thing somebody said, there's a ring I wear. You can't see it. It says GI, but there's another ring that's underneath it. And the ring, what it says is the GI factor. And that was given to me by 2-star Air Force retired Mark Brown, who is now the president of Tuskegee University. He and my brother
Big shout out to Tuskegee.
Hey, love Tuskegee. He and my brother lived across the hall from each other, and I became his mentor early in the Air Force. Of course, he passed me, But I did something, and I said, "Oh, sir, you're being generous. Why do you say that?" He said, "No, it's the GI factor. Everything you touch just turns to gold." But if you ask me why is that, it's not that I'm all of that. It's
Ah,
that no. I really mean that. It means I have a strategy. Every time I embark on something new, every time I want to create a new legacy, I have a strategy. It doesn't matter what it is. Approach, deployment, results. What results am I achieving? That, and it's a stretch goal. Many and then approach and deployment is, how you're going to have the strategy and how you're going to execute it. And when you say approach and deployment, that's not about you. That's about finding the right people who can help you craft the vision so they can be part of the vision. And then who are the right people to deploy it? One of my greatest skills is putting right people in the right place at the right time. I call myself the Laura Croft of gifts. If you have a good gift, I'm going to rate it. If I see, I'm like, oh, okay, you got a gift there. And so then when I call people, they go, oh, I can't do that. No, it may not be in the job that may not be what you're doing now, but I see that. And let's bring you over here. And then what happens is a 10x, because first of all, they naturally do it well.
right.
Two, now they're being given the vision of what they need to achieve, the results, and that deployment piece. Because John Maxwell says if you put the right person in the right place at the right time, they can do the work of 5.
Wow.
And the reason is because they know what to major in and what to minor in. And you as an expert don't even know that as a leader, but they can say, no. Based on the results you're trying to get, that's not important. Based on the results you're trying to get, that's major.
GI, how do you, when you talked about the ADR, the approach, the deployment, the results, and I look at 348 million Americans, the reason that the ADR does not work is one, because they don't know it, but two, you have to remove ego out of the way, because if you try to do approach, deployment, and results, you only have the strength of one person. So how do you mentally, you call yourself the Laura Croft of life. I love that. Yeah. But how do you trust? How do you build teams of trust? How do you go about doing that?
Oh my God. You just, man, you're trying to get the whole master class in one session. So I've been a student of leadership for a long time. I used to teach John Maxwell before there was his coaching program. I put the VCR in, make PowerPoint slides, show that the sessions, but it's really about your greatest leverage is with your peers. They're not your competition. That's where you 10x. See, when you lead people above you, they will follow you because you're taking food off of their plate and you're going to make them look good. The people beneath you are going to follow you because why? Fear, security, I want you to promote me, etc. So they both, but your peers are like, I ain't got to help you. I'm over here on my thing. What's in it for me? There begins the collaboration. So the first thing I do is find out, what do people want to win? What does winning look like to them? And it's not the thing you think it is. Many times it's totally different. And you're going, oh, we can do that. That's easy.
Right.
I mean, no. And then what you do is you build that peer network, right? And you help them win. When you help them win, they want to help you win. Then when they see you're a winner, they know it's the GI factor. I want in, because if I'm even tied to her, I know she's generous enough that when she talks about why she won, she's going to mention my name. She's going to mention my people, right? And the third thing that I live by, I have all these, like, my mind goes crazy when it comes to leadership, is there's 3 factors that prevent this from happening. You know what it is?
No, what are they?
It is risk, responsibility, and reward.
The
Risk,
three R's, okay?
responsibility, and reward. See, when you're collaborating with people, they want 100% of the credit, 100% of the reward, but they want to take zero risk and minimal responsibility. And what has to happen at the beginning is, and this is why many business teams fail for the risk, the responsibility, and reward. Because the first thing you have to say is, whoever has the highest risk, they are 51% owner. Because when it fails, it's on them. If you take COVID, NFL, right? I love football. When everything shut down, guess what happened? The coach didn't have to pay any bills, except for his own. The grass keeper didn't have to pay any bills. The quarterback didn't have to pay any bills, but the owner, people wonder, why is the owner, they making all this money and blah, blah, blah. They had to pay all the bills.
They had to pay all the bills.
They had all the risk. Even though it's the quarterback that's out there, you know, making the dream team work, the coaches coaching him, the groundskeepers keeping everything, the equipment, but their responsibility and risk were different, so they didn't get the same reward. They shouldn't get the same reward as the owner. And so that's why when you're collaborating, it's important to figure out who's got the greatest risk, and then who's willing to, the more responsibility you're willing to take, the more rewards you get.
I love it. I love it. So let me get this right. If I'm in an organization, I'm in a job that might be in last August doged or might be let go, as I'm looking for my next opportunity, or whether I'm looking to get retained in my current opportunity, is very simple. I just need to find the risk, take some responsibility, and then the reward is a natural conclusion. What a powerful nugget.
And can I say that opportunity many times starts with service without the reward.
You know, when you take away that reward, now you're, you know, this is where the rubber meets the road. If the reward is not obvious, then a lot of people aren't going to take it. Let's go to a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back. We're going to continue to build on the story of GI. And more importantly, we're going to learn more about the GI factor as she went from a child through Tuskegee and into the Air Force. Stay tuned.
In today's rapidly changing workforce landscape, finding the right talent isn't just about filling positions. It's about building the future. But with new policies shaping how organizations approach recruitment, companies and institutions need a smarter way to connect with top STEM talent, fairly, effectively, and compliantly. That's where CCG Job Match comes in. For more than 30 years, Career Communications Group has been bridging the gap between education and industry. Job Match is our workforce development program that links employers with thousands of qualified, motivated candidates, students and professionals ready to make an impact. With Job Match, companies gain access to a broad pool of skilled applicants, engineers, technologists, innovators, while ensuring every hiring decision is based on merit. No quotas, no preferences, just opportunity and talent matched with precision. Education partners benefit too, helping their graduates transition seamlessly into the workforce while showcasing the strength of their academic programs to leading employers nationwide. In a world where policies may change, one thing remains constant: the need for great talent. CCG Job Match is where industries, institutions, and innovation meet. Let's build the future together. Contact us at CCG Job Match to start your partnership today.
All right, welcome back to the briefing room. I'm your host, Matt Bowman, and today you are learning about the GI factor. So in our last segment, we talked about mentorship. We talked about risk, reward, and responsibility. We talked about GI's approach to leadership. That is the ADR method. So if you want to know more go to her LinkedIn, click on this link, watch the show. I'm not going to spill the beans, but we are going to go right into the second half of a 3-part series in her life. And this is what I call the military chapter. So, GI, when we started, I said, I want you to tell me some sea stories. So the floor is yours. You're Air Force, I'm Navy, but tell me a sea story.
Well, I'm Army born, Air Force by choice, right? So, how you might say, how did I get in the Air Force? Because, my dad would come home. They used to call it going to the field. They didn't call it deployment back then. I was like, I could never do that. I would watch it. And then, by the way, he was the only Black officer on the post my entire, formative years. So, the Blacks didn't like me because I was an officer's kid and my dad made more. The whites didn't like me because, I was Black. So I was in this no man's land. So my dad said to me, if you get accepted into Tuskegee, which was he and my mother's alma mater, you're going. Well, I got accepted into Tuskegee. He said, you go for 1 year. If you don't like it, I'll send you anywhere you want to go. Because he said, you don't know who you are.
Mm.
And he was right, because all of my formative years were unusual in that I grew up in an entirely white environment. And, ostracized or isolated inside that environment. And so I arrive at Tuskegee, and what people don't know is back in those days, some senator, I still have been trying to research it, decided that if you got federal funds, then you, as a private institution, you had to take ROTC or physical education, ROTC or PE. Well, the logic of a 17-year-old was that ROTC seemed easier than physical education.
Only in the mind of a 17-year-old,
Hey, I'm just saying, and those Air Force uniforms, I'd never seen them before. They had the ladies there with the nice, skirts on. I said, hey, that really looks good. So I signed up. I was in 1 semester and absolutely loved it. And then got an Air Force scholarship, first an Air Force missile scholarship. And then I went to summer camp during my junior year, and I went into a missile silo and came back and told my professor of aerospace science, I cannot do that. I'm not doing that. You can keep the scholarship. I'll give it back. My dad will pay you. And he goes, wait a minute. Let me see if I can find a non-technical scholarship. There was a short period of time where the Air Force was wanting to recruit to the point where they said, you don't have to be a pilot, navigator, or engineer. You can be a non-fi non, for lack of better words. And my ROTC professor of aerospace science, A.B. Floyd, I wrote the foreword to his book, multimillionaire business owner multiple times, got me a scholarship. And so the Air Force paid for me to get a fashion design and business degree.
Wow, love it. Love it.
Yes. So, I came in wanting to, redesign the women's uniform, because the area that I was in, the Air Force Uniform Board was underneath Air Force Services at the time. Well, to say the least, I never got to do that, but man, what a great career I had. I tell people, this little girl from Georgia, I'm not sure a Fortune 100 company would have given this little girl from Georgia an opportunity to manage $1 billion, profit loss business, 5 countries, 2 states, 8,000 people, 87 locations. When I tell you, I just was talking to somebody at the Pentagon a couple of weeks ago. She's in my career field, because I was the first Black female to make colonel in my specialty, and there's no general officer. So I basically reached the top as a colonel. But I was telling her, if you get the opportunity to be the the Aphis Exchange Pacific Regional Commander. Take it. It is a dream. People say dream jobs. It is when I say a dream job, my house overlooked the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
My office overlooked the Pacific Ocean. I had a car with a driver. When I traveled on C-21 jets throughout the Pacific, Black Hawk helicopters up to the DMZ in Korea, installation commanders waiting for you on the tarmac because they want a new Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or something. And most of the job was about negotiating land deals. I mean, it looked really good, kiss the babies, cut the ribbons, but the deal was about negotiating land and buildings for locations for future stores. So that's what it was about.
In that retail space, of negotiating land deals, I mean, that is Sharknado. You're dealing with real estate developers, investors, private equity money, personal money. A lot of developers actually take out of their own personal accounts, and you're dealing with franchises. I mean, this is land of the shark. I mean, you're couching it, and to all the parents who have their, who are listening here.
Yes.
This is the roadmap. Expose your children, raise them up so that when they get to the land of the sharks, when they're at the top of the food chain, that they jump in those shark-infested waters of realtors and real estate developers. And then they say, as the GI factor says, when I got in there with the sharks, I loved it. I
loved it. Love is not I had an entire distribution center, water plant, bakery. We did all of the baked goods for several islands, right? All the school lunches, all the water. It was an amazing opportunity. And oh, by the way, I worked in every single area. The thing I started at a second lieutenant doing, I did as a 06. I bagged groceries. I've done donuts. I fried chicken at Popeyes. I've been in the daycare centers. I've where every entity of the bakery. I've baked, you'd be surprised, tortilla chips and bagels. But every single entity, I did that because what it did, I heard there was a post today that said, in order to simplify something, you must first understand the complex. So I love that because I hadn't put to words, but that's essentially what I've done all my career by going deep, being in the trenches, and understanding it at grassroots level allows me then when I get to the top to be able to simplify it to, oh, by the way, be able to advocate for dollars, advocate for support, all of that.
So now we're going all the way back. I mean, those lessons that you learned about leave deep footprints. In order for you to leave deep footprints, you got to really understand your business. If your business is education, if your business is tech, if your business is AI, you cannot be shallow. You got to go deep in that thing and really understand it. So,
and there's no shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts. When you talked about EQ, and everyone talks about emotional intelligence and IQ and EQ, but I've learned something today. That experience quotient, that's my new mantra. Experience. Go out, get your hands dirty.
It's called the E2.
The E2.
You need experienced experts. You can be experienced and not be an expert, and you can be an expert and not be experienced.
You can be an expert. All right, listen, let me go back to that. I'm going to dig deep into this. How can you be experienced and not an expert?
That means you spent time, but you're not necessarily an expert in it.
You didn't learn nothing. You were just there.
Well, you might have learned some things, but it wasn't focused and intentional enough to be a master of that thing. See, the key thing is mastery. When you say expert, it should include mastery. Then you have people who are experts, meaning they studied, they got PhDs, they got 50 certifications, zero experience.
Zero experience.
Or minimum. I'm not saying zero.
Yeah, no, we get it. We get it.
Minimal. Yeah, minimal.
And I'm glad you brought that out, because people will get minimal experience or minimal expertise.
Yep.
And then walk around claiming they're E2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to get shirts made, GI. I'm going to get shirts made. And it's going to say on the top, the GI factor. And on the bottom, it's going to say E2. It's going to say E2.
So you want to know how, let me just give quickly how I became an expert. John Maxwell says, if you focus on anything for 5 years, you will be an expert. But guess what that requires? Focus. Discipline. But the only things I do, the themes are all the same: leadership, communication, entrepreneurship, growth. That's about it. Those are about anything dealing with growth. I even look at the growth of family crops. Will tell you something about a growth of an organization. You talk grafting, right? You put you cut two branches, you put them together, you tie them together. Eventually, they grow together and they produce something new. So even studying things that are parallel and not necessarily associated can. So growth, communication, environment, weather. Are you a thermostat or a thermometer, right? All of those analogies, just focusing in what you're going to master. And then before you know it, you have your own thought leadership niche. And if there was any advice on this day and age, you want to be able to beat AI, and AI to be a tool, not your replacement. Become an expert. Become a thought leader. Focus on 2, 3, 4, 5 things and hone in on that. And then the intersection of that, your experience will give you a unique perspective that nobody else has, right? That will make them successful.
I love it. And so, as we transition to the third phase of this journey, this GI factor journey, what parting words would you give to the young officers who are in the military today, many of whom, hundreds of them who listen to this show? What advice would you give to the officers and also to the spouses, because they play a critical role?
Well, I would say serve.
And then as you think about that, I'm going to ask you to answer that question on 2 fronts. The first is professionally, and the second is on a personal partnership level, because you have it all. You've been able to stay married and be married throughout a military career. So both those.
Yes. So first I would say service. See, people in the Air Force, there's a thing they'll say, GI, to know her is to work. That's what they say. And they're right. Remember, I told you I'm a tomb raider.
Right.
So one of the things I loved about all the organizations I served with, Tuskegee Airmen, AFCOMA, even, AFA, Air Force Association, I brought people along with me and asked them to use their gift for something greater than themselves. That did several things. First, it taught me or let me view their leadership. Will they embark on this as if they were being compensated, they were going to be rewarded or not, right? The second thing it would do, it would tell me how can they lead their peers, people who do not have they have no authority over them. Can they get them to follow them? And guess what? When you see how someone works, you get to see so much that's why when I recommend people for jobs, 99% they get hired because I'm telling what's not on the resume, because I've seen them work. This isn't, let me read your resume and I'm going to regurgitate it back. I have personal knowledge of this person's values, their level of service, their level of effort. So if anything, I would say, stop looking for immediate gratification. Contribute to something greater than yourself. And if it's not there, go create it and build your own community, but make an impact that has something to do that's not, because what I found is you have secret fans. People are watching. I got my first command job by somebody who had watched my career, and I didn't even know they existed, but they were watching. And they had fired a commander and was looking for a replacement, and they thought of me.
Wow. GI, you have hit it on the head. I'm going to roll that partnership into phase 3. But if I were to sum up, because I'm just a simple sailor, it's about service, and it's about knowing that every conversation, every interaction is an interview. Every interaction is an interview. All right, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to talk a little bit more about this BEA ecosystem, of which, thousands of military officers are a part of, and what's going to happen at the 40th annual BEA, where you'll see me and my co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn. We'll be on the floor. We'll be walking around. If you see us, stop by and get an interview with us. So learn more about the 40th annual BEA coming up in 26 days.
Hi, STEM professionals. I'm Eric Price, Vice President of Recruitment and Training here for Career Communications Group. Our conferences have something for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Let's say, for example, you are a new college student, need some soft skills to learn. Guess what? We can help you there. If you're an existing professional who's looking to rise up the corporate ladder, we got you covered. Our remarkable thought leaders will introduce you to out-of-the-box thinking, develop your existing professional skills, and expand your leadership skills. My name is Eric Price, and I'm Vice President of Recruitment and Training here at Career Communications Group, and you can contact me either by calling our headquarters office at 410-244-7101 or via email at eprice@ccgmag.com. And I look forward to hearing from you soon.
All right, welcome back to the briefing room. I'm your host, Matt Bowman, and my co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn. And you heard a little bit about the BEA conference. You heard from Eric Price, our Vice President of Training. And so I encourage everyone under the sound of my voice, put that date, February 12th through 14th, Baltimore Convention Center, on your schedule. There you'll meet thought leaders. There you'll meet the entire Panther of military leaders. It's an entire 40 years of senior military retired leaders at BEA. I'm here with Colonel Michelle Gardner-Ince, and we are talking about the GI factor. In the first 2 segments, we went deep. We talked about leave deep footprints. We talked about making history wherever you're at. We talked about ADR. We talked about the 3 R's. We talked about E2. And now we are going to talk about the final part 3. And that's going to include maintaining personal and professional relationships, which you've been able to do in all kinds of environments. From being the only Black officer's child to going to a historically Black college and loving it and excelling it, to leading the largest AAFES in the world, AAFES organization in the world, to then going to the VA and being a leader in small business and getting entrepreneurs to partner, veteran entrepreneurs, of which we all who've worn the cloth of the nation know. So talk to me about relationships. That is going to be—
Oh my God.
personal and professional.
Yes, yes, yes.
And in
Um,
that, if there's any, I'm gonna tell you, if there's any advice on the relationships, I don't want to just hear about the good days. Um, everybody likes
mm.
sunny days, but can you stand the rain? So share with us, if you will, about some rainy days.
Well, first of all, before I do that, I want to give a hack for relationships.
Okay.
Uh, because of my background, right? I value being connected because I was disconnected, if that means anything. And so when I came in the Air Force, my dad said, find others who are like you, build relationships because you can't do this by yourself. And so because I love people and because of his guidance, I have never deleted a contact since the year 1999 when I got my first BlackBerry.
Okay.
Before Apple was transferring contacts from one phone to another, I was downloading them on Excel spreadsheet, uploading them, every recall roster I have.
Okay.
But I didn't just collect it. If I had a relationship with you, if I ever got your phone number, I kept it and it's still in my database, still in my contacts now. Why don't I delete it? I don't delete it because, first of all, with today's, what the internet has done, you can get to anybody if you want to, if you really want. And back in the day, and you should do this now, and I still do this, if you talk about your child being sick, I will immediately write so-and-so's name in the notes. We're sick. So-and-so played basketball, did soccer, wife is a PhD, works, adjunct professor at Harvard, etc. So when I meet you again, years later, now my contact for you may be expired. But the fact that I remember key points about you don't. I'll say, oh, my technique is I'll pull it up and I'll say, hey, I don't think I have your current information. Really, I'm looking for my old information.
Right. But
I'm just saying it's a hack. It's a hack.
What you did is, I mean, I even look when you talk about your love of people. See, when you came on this show and you saw my hat, you immediately brought your hat on, and your hat is far more stylish than mine. But it's that we've been knowing each other so long that it's sinking in.
Yes.
And for people who are trying to duplicate
Yes.
what the GI factor is,
yes,
if you want to do it in a way, the way that GI does it, where it's authentic and not like some people do networking where it's sleazy or transactional, but if it's really intentional, you got to do it out of love. You got to. So when you ask about their child, because the GI factor is when she asks about your child, she really, honest to goodness, wants to know.
Exactly.
And that love. So can you talk about how that love translates into everything that you do with people?
Yes. I'm a hopeless romantic. And I say that because I have been done wrong, mistreated, beaten, talked about, shows you born, scorned, the whole song. but I'm a hopeless romantic. I believe there's good even when I see bad. As I've gotten older, I just know that if the bad is not good for me, I don't discard you. I just put distance and space, right? So it doesn't mean that, because many times hurt people. So many times people don't even know they're hurting you. So that's the first thing. And the reason I went into about how I keep up with people is because this is another hack that people don't use. If you are a veteran, let me tell you that you can call. I just did it. There was a guy that just got promoted to Assistant Secretary of the Air Force. I've not talked to him in 15 years. I follow him on LinkedIn and blah, comment, happy birthday, congratulations on the job changes. Another hack, please always do that. Job changes, work anniversary is huge. And I said, hey, do you remember me? Blah, blah, blah. We served at blah, blah, blah. I know you've got a great view from the Pentagon. How do I get a chance to see your office? He immediately comes back. GI, I could never forget you. Of course. Here's my EA's number. Looking forward to seeing you. 15 years.
Wow.
15 years. Because guess what? When every year of service is like 7 years, like dog years.
That's right. They're dog years.
You were there and you helped them get promoted.
Right.
If you were there and when they retired, if you were there when they overcame some, regression. If you were there shoulder to shoulder with them on a tough mission, if you were there and you helped them look good on a project, you are unforgettable.
GI, we are coming to the end of our show. I want to give you 1 minute. We're going to end on unforgettable. The GI factor is unforgettable. GI, you are unforgettable. So 1 minute, and then I'm going to go and close up today's episode. So 1 minute to you and then 1 minute to me.
Well, I just want to say really quickly, I'm super excited about this next chapter called Command Your Next Mission. It's a book, it's an ecosystem, and it's all about how do you take what you've done, your rank and your results, and how do you make it relevant to the appropriate market to bring revenue, right? So we talk a lot about transition, but we don't talk about how do we translate in market language what we want. And is that important to the market? We just say we want to be in business and then hope somebody buys it. So connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my happy place. But I want to say that this can be done. You can bring your own flavor, your own way of doing it. Mine is just one way, but be focused, intentional. And then be, I call it be collaborative. Help other people win. Love people, and they'll help you win.
Well, GI, I want to thank you. And to my listeners, you've had a treat today. The GI factor. Connect with her on LinkedIn. Use her services. Hire her services. The best thing you can do for a small business is give them business, is what one of my friends and mentor has always said. And I will tell you, when you talk about return on investment, you have just gotten a small piece of the GI factor. So this show today, a show by warriors, for warriors, if each year is 7 dog years, then for all these veterans out here, in the words of GI, turn your rank, get relevant results, and help these companies get revenue. You as a veteran have learned these skills. You need to connect with and tap in with GI and get it done. So with that, I want to thank everyone for watching The Briefing Room, a show by warriors for warriors, where we continue to raise the bar and get results. And always remember that you are your ancestors' wildest dream.
Thanks, Matt, for having me as well.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.